Good morning. We have Steph Day with us here today, and we are glad for you to be with us. And go right ahead. Just start on in.
Okay. Well, first, I haven't met all of you before. So I'm from Mid-Michigan CISMA, which is Cooperative Invasive Species Management Area, and I cover four counties, Ingham, Eaton, Clinton, and Ionia. And I've been on the job for a year ago, since July. Um, so we're really like getting the CISMA started again, getting involved in the community, applying for grants, and yeah, there's been some great changes, and yeah, I'm excited to talk about it today. But I'd like if everyone could introduce themselves because I don't think that I've met um very many of you in person.
Sure. I'll start. My name is Sarah Allen, and I'm a resident in Meridian Township, and I'm involved with the green team, green burial team. Um, I'm going to forget something, but doing just environmental work in my area and beyond. And been doing these green dialogues for, I think, about 5 years now. And just enjoy coming every Wednesday and being able to be with like-minded people talking about the environment. So I'll pass it on to the next one. Thank you.
I'll go next.
Oh, go ahead. You.
I'm Bruce Peppers, retired, also on the green team and several other township efforts, including the Green Burial Committee, the Corridor Improvement Authority. What else? Well, and MCC, which is our Meridian Conservation Corps, run by Emma Campa.
Awesome. I love Emma.
Go ahead, Brian.
Okay, last time I interrupted somebody.
Thank you.
I'm Brian Shorkey. I'm the principal planner in community development on staff with Meridian Charter Township.
Go ahead, Sean.
Good morning, Stephanie. I'm Sean Barton from Hammond Farm, Sustainability Director and Worm Wizard. We do a lot of composting and hopefully destroying some of those invasive species coming in. So love to learn more. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kim.
Hi, I'm Kim Peters. I'm on the Green Burial Committee. I've got a strong interest in native plants and am slowly getting rid of grass in my yard and trying to bring back more habitat, I guess, for
Yeah.
pollinators and such.
Go ahead, Sam.
Hello, I'm Sam Lovell, retired landscape architect, and grew up in Meridian. Now living up north, but have been involved with a lot of environmental planning and restoration work as part of my career. Glad to be with everybody here in Hazlet too.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lori.
Hi, Leroy Harvey. Nice to meet you, Stephanie. And I recently retired from Meridian Township, but it's hard to pull away. I really enjoy these dialogues, and I like the idea of dialogue as a way to learn and teach and make decisions, sort of in a community way. And so stick around while I can and appreciate the conversations. Thanks for setting this up.
Yeah. Happy to have everyone here today and nice to meet all of you. I took some notes because part of my job is coordinating to get the work done. And sometimes I need to talk to the right people to get things done and to know like who the experts are, the knowledgeable people in the community, because as my job as a coordinator, it's kind of a jack of all trades position. But when you're in that kind of position, you need to know like who your resources are to reach out to. So happy to meet all of you today. Um, a little bit of background. Mid-Michigan CISMA used to be housed at the Ingham Conservation District, and it had been there for about 10 years. Um, that's where it started. And the CISMA was always a collaboration effort. Like the board, the steering committee was always made up of the four conservation districts and then other local organizations. And we made the change in the spring of 2025 to move uh, the CISMA to Woldemar Nature Center. So I don't know if any of you know Kevin Wernett. He's my boss now, and I get to use the office space at Woldemar, and it's really great to have the staff there as coworkers. And yeah, I'm really happy. And also, like, if I'm stressed out, I can go for a walk, and there's 5 miles of trails to explore. So that's really, really nice. Things have been going really well with that. Um, right now, the CISMA is really focused on education and outreach about invasive species. Um, I can give presentations and um, when there's community events like um, Apple Butter Festival that's coming up, I'll be there. I did the Williamstown Township Harvest Festival. I set up a game for kids to shoot invasive lesser celandine on a shower curtain with squirt bottles. So that was great. I tried to come up with games for kids. I did the Williamston River Days. Um, that's always the beginning of September, that second weekend in September. Um, so that was great. And yeah, so those are some of the recent things that I've been up to give you an example. When you guys think of things going on in the community, be like, oh, the CISMA should go to that. Like, let me know. Um, and then, yeah, if you guys know of like garden clubs or libraries or organizations that would be well suited to have the CISMA come in and give a presentation, I'd be happy to hear about those too. I've spent time at libraries in East Lansing, Grand Lodge, and Dimondale so far. Um, so the CISMA is not set up for a strike team to do invasive species treatment on our own. Um, in order to be able to do that, you need your pesticide applicator business license, and someone working for the organization needs to have 2 years of experience in order to apply for that. And I had just done volunteer work in invasive species, plus my education and background before I got this job. So I'm not coming into the position with 2 years of pesticide application experience. Um, I did take my core and my aquatic. So I have a licensure for myself, but we don't have like a business license to be able to um, do work for the job. But I'm like moving in that direction of, getting the licensure and figuring out the next steps for what I'm going to need to do to build that into the organization again. Um, but so yeah, we can't just go out and treat invasive species, but I do apply for grants every once as well as often as I can. But so I do get grants every once in a while that are for treatment, but it's usually very like species specific. And um have been able to secure a grant. Um the amount varies around ten to $15,000 a year for last year and this year, for lesser celandine treatment. But the DNRs wanted that to be done at the Portland State Game area. Um, and but I have done a lot of surveying in the local community and leading groups of volunteers and training them about lesser celandine, um, in order to have them help me look for it because I am just a one person organization. And let's see, we last year we were finishing up a grant for a European frogbit, which is an aquatic plant that is this one, and lesser celandine is that one. Um, so European frogbit, there's a really bad infestation at the Dansville State Game area. So I keep finding these infestations in state game areas and spend a lot of time in the state game areas, surveying. And then we contract out the treatment. And oh, something that I'm excited to bring to the CISMA for 2026 and beyond is this program called Go Beyond Beauty. Has anyone heard of that before?
Only because of you.
Okay. Yeah. So Go Beyond Beauty was started by one of the CISMAs that they applied for like a large MISG priority grant. And um, yeah, so Go Beyond Beauty is a program that local organizations can get involved in, um, if they can commit to not planting or selling a specific list of 12 invasive species, which are common, like ornamental species like Japanese barberry, Callery pear, glossy buckthorn, a few. It seems to be a lot of like woody shrubs that are on the list. And if you can commit to not selling or planting those 12 invasives, you can participate in our program, which is like we there's benefits for the company, for the organization to be involved. And as far as um, we acknowledge that those organizations are like avoiding selling those specific invasives, and there's certain words I'm not supposed to use. I'm not like officially enrolled in the program yet, but we're not supposed to use words like promotion or advertising, but we are allowed to use the word acknowledge, but it's kind of the same thing. So we will recommend those organizations when people are asking us, like, where are safe places to buy plants from? What organizations should we support? And so then those are the companies that we're like telling people about. And so it helps their business to get business from the people that we talk to regularly. And I get a lot, like a large part of my job is receiving phone calls from the community and answering questions about invasive species and native plants and things like that. Um, and then Go Beyond Beauty also um, supports like planting native plants. So it's kind of like, don't plant these plants, plant the native plants instead. So the education about why the invasive species are bad and why planting the native plants are good. And then also when businesses can are a part of the organization, then we can like recommend to the community that they shop at these nurseries that are selling native plants.
Mhm.
Um, so that is pretty cool. I will be giving like presentations throughout the year, letting the community know that we're in Go Beyond Beauty. And then part of my job will be reaching out to nurseries and landscape professionals, anyone, any organization really that is agreeing to not use those invasives. Um, so that's pretty cool. What do you guys think about having that in our community?
I think it sounds great.
Very much in favor. Uh,
Mhm.
I also am very familiar with Waldemar. I was on their board of directors for several years, probably about 10 years back. And both my girls went to they basically lived there during the summer, going to the summer camps. So I know Kevin fairly well. We've also arranged to have the buyer from Van Atta. She has agreed to come and talk to this group. I don't think we've set a date yet. But I know they've had discussions there regarding selling invasive species. So,
Awesome. Yeah, I would love to have Vanetta be part of the Go Beyond Beauty program. I was just talking about that with someone at Wildemar yesterday when we were thinking about what organizations to reach out to and who do we think might be receptive. And Vanetta was one of them that were like, I think we would have a better chance at getting Vanetta on board than we would Horax, but we can try Horax. Because one of my coworkers at Wildemar saw that they were selling glossy buckthorn at Horax this past week. So,
Well, and that's where this group comes into play in terms of, we come up with all kinds of different topics and we're like, why in the world are we going to these nurseries? And Kim has said before too, like the Meridian Township Garden Club, like there's just a bunch of different places where these people are natural natural nature seeking people. But you go to the store or you go to Van Atta's or you go to the big box, whatever, and your options are to buy an invasive species. And then there's people out there like Bruce and MCC who are going out trying to get rid of the invasives. I mean, it's complete in my head, complete insanity. So I hope that you coming and then Van Atta coming and talking to us, we can help be, people in the community and talking to other people and just continuing to be the mouthpieces for working on subjects like this. And so that's part of the
yeah.
reason why we wanted to have you here is so that you can help educate us so that we have an idea of just expanding what our ability and knowledge is to be able to help in the work of it.
Yeah.
And this Go Beyond Beauty program, it's nice to have something with a definite goal of what they're working towards and being able to have a like you said, benefits for a company to commit. So I think that's really great.
Yeah. Um, when I get that information from Go Beyond Beauty, I'll share it with you guys. I'm not doing onboarding for that until like January. So it's a little bit, it depends on their like grant cycle and funding. Um, like I'll be able to enroll in the program in November, but she doesn't have time to onboard us until like December, January.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, like there's a lot of resources to share and um yeah, I'd be happy to share that stuff with you so you guys can help like pass it out in the community and um something that would help the Go Beyond Beauty program in our area, I think, is for everyone to kind of be mindful of when you are out and about at different nurseries and you do see that some places are selling invasives, just kind of making a note of that or letting me know. Um, because then those are places that I'm going to want to reach out to. Um, and
I have a question.
yeah,
So is it helpful or hurtful for us to like say go to Horrocks and say and I can't remember which one you said, so I'll write it down when you say it again, but like is it hurtful or helpful for us to go to a place like that and be like, why are you selling this? I mean, we're the consumer, so is that a helpful thing? I would imagine it
yeah.
help me if it's not.
Yeah, I think that it's helpful. I think that we'll have to be careful about like individual community members. Um like Go Beyond Beauty has specific messaging, and so I don't think individual community members should be like um trying to push the organization to do Go Beyond Beauty, but I think asking them about why do you sell invasives and
Mhm.
letting them know some reasons why it's harmful and letting them know there's alternatives, like having that conversation because that's something that the Go Beyond Beauty program director was talking about. Um, the nurseries and landscape companies once people in the community find out Go Beyond Beauty's in the community, the community members start going to those businesses and asking questions, and then also like calling me and letting me know what they're finding. And I think that um, yeah, putting a little bit of pressure on in the kindest way possible um, can definitely be beneficial because from a business perspective, if a lot of people are approaching them, then they'll be like, oh, maybe there is actually a reason to not sell invasives
Mhm.
because
Kim, go
they're
ahead.
doing it because they make money from it, right? Like,
Yeah. Kim, go ahead.
Yeah. Do you have a specific list of plants that you're um, targeting to begin with?
yes, let me look that up. The species list. Okay. Barberry, invasive bittersweet, glassy buckthorn, baby's breath, dame's rocket, blue lime grass. I feel like that's a bigger problem on the shores up north. Um, non-native honeysuckles, which, or I guess it's non-native bush honeysuckles, and then there's Japanese honeysuckle, which is a vine, I think. Um, Moneywort or creeping jenny, which is frequently used in planters' containers. um, reed canary grass, common buckthorn, Callery pear, and then there's two aquatic species, water hyacinth and water lettuce, which are frequently used in aquariums, or even like people will put it in their outdoor ponds. But those two species of aquatic plants grow very prolifically and can cause a lot of damage if they've escaped um, the place where the person put them originally. Um, so that is the list, and Mid-Michigan CISMA would be allowed to add like a couple of things to the list that would be regionally specific to us. They don't like to have there be too many changes to it. But if there is something regionally specific, I can go to the Go Beyond Beauty program director and ask if that can be on our list just for our region. Um, and yeah, the Go Beyond Beauty website has a lot of information about all of the species of plants. And then, yeah, they have a lot of resources and connections to like that website you can go to and find out about the CISMAs that are involved in Go Beyond Beauty. Um, yeah, it's a really great, that website is a really great resource. Um, yeah, it was started by the CISMA that's up by Traverse City area.
So Kim brought up, I think it was last week or maybe the week before, the website, the state of Michigan website where it talks about invasive species that are, or plants that are, what is it called? I don't know that they're illegal. I don't know what it was, but like there is a list of things already that like the state acknowledges, but how does that not relate to what we're talking about of nurseries not selling them? I mean, is that list stuff that they aren't allowed to sell and we just need to get more plants on that list, or
So
and
that is a very good question, how that relates to Go Beyond Beauty. And so, um, Go Beyond Beauty really like arose as a need, to put some pressure on industries and businesses to encourage them not to sell these species because the state of Michigan does not have these 12 species listed as prohibited or restricted yet.
okay.
Michigan has been very slow at getting invasive species, especially terrestrial invasive species, prohibited and restricted. They've been much faster at getting aquatic species prohibited and restricted for sale in Michigan. Um, we are far behind other states in the Midwest, even very right-leaning red states. Like Indiana has 44 species prohibited or restricted. And I just don't see why like Michigan isn't putting more effort into that. I think it's because one of the factors is because the way that they set up the process to get species prohibited and restricted is a very lengthy, involved, complicated process. So they need to make it easier. Um, but I guess there's an invasive species like committee of um, state of Michigan employees. Okay, bye, Leroy. Um, and yeah, like I don't, I feel like they require a whole lot of research about all the invasive species and um, reasons why it would like benefit the economy in Michigan to prohibit or restrict those invasive species. We do have good news though. So MDARD, uh, some people at MDARD have come together to put a proposal together for restricting 6 different species. Um, I am looking back through my email. Oh, yeah. So, okay. In my email with Sarah, I did list out that MDARD is proposing to regulate 6 species: common buckthorn, glossy buckthorn, Callery pear, Japanese barberry, water hyacinth, and water lettuce, which are 6 of the species on the 12 species list of Go Beyond Beauty. So Go Beyond Beauty would probably then, if those 6 species get listed as prohibited and restricted in Michigan, which I'm hoping they do, I don't know how long that legislative process is going to be and what hiccups we're going to encounter with that. Um, but then Go Beyond Beauty, I think, would just pick 6 other invasive species to add to their list to keep a list of 12.
Mhm.
Um,
What specific department is MDARD? What does that stand for?
oh, yeah, Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development.
Okay, thank you.
Um, so Eagle was the department that put together a list of aquatic invasive species to restrict, and I feel like that was quite a few years ago, 2016 or 2018. Like it's been a long time since we had a proposal go to legislature to restrict more invasive species.
Mhm.
Um, and Eagle is the Department of Environmental, Great Lakes, and Energy,
Mhm.
something like that.
Yeah.
So Eagle kind of takes care of aquatic invasive species, and then MDARD is leading the way with like the terrestrial invasive species proposal. And I think that they are the ones that can come up with the statistics and research um, about what could impact like farming industry or like fruit trees, yeah, organizations that sell like Christmas trees or different things like that. So,
Mhm. Okay, that's helpful. Any other questions? So the person that you put me in touch with, I think it's Dave,
yeah.
is I'm going to a meeting this Sunday, a Zoom meeting. Um, I can't remember. Is he part of uh Go Beyond Beauty? Is like
No, but he's part of the Wildflower Association of Michigan,
okay.
and they have an environmental action council. And so Dave was leading the charge for like getting a group of people together to talk about what species should we try to write a proposal for to get more species prohibited and restricted.
Okay.
And so, like, I think he was just sick of so many years going by in the state of Michigan not having legislation passed to get more species prohibited and restricted. And he spends a ton of time. He's involved with like Friends of the Rouge River,
Mm-hmm.
and he's a leader at Wildflower Association of Michigan. He's involved in a few other things, but he does invasive species like volunteer stewardship. So he's constantly out there battling all these woody invasives and then sees all these companies that are still selling it. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
our environment would be much better off if we just stop selling these because it's hard enough to keep up with how fast they reproduce once they're in the wild,
Mm-hmm.
let
Yeah.
alone more of them getting planted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems pretty counterintuitive to keep selling the plants that you're actively trying to remove from the environment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like there's got to be some kind of stats about um like how much it costs to remove all these invasive species every year.
Mm.
And yeah.
So I was talking to someone recently who I said, "Oh, I'm going to this meeting on Sunday." And I told him what it was about. And he said, "Oh, I did a dissertation on that." And he's probably 70. He said, "I did a dissertation on that many decades ago." He said, "But back then it wasn't, it wasn't a thing to try to block those invasives." But he said, "I'm hoping now as we get better at that and we're moving in this more conscious, you know, way of thinking that maybe at some point it will happen." So it feels like we're in the time when we can maybe get somewhere with it, but clearly it's going to take a little bit more time. But I was encouraged in terms when Kim shared that part that is on the website for Michigan, that there are some on there. So it's not like it can't happen. We just got to keep working to get the so many of the other ones on there. So go ahead, Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were kind of on the same subject maybe 15 minutes ago, but the idea of nurserymen selling these invasive plants, and you see, I just have this, maybe it's a false idea that they just don't know that they're causing a problem. And I'm guessing that if they were if that knowledge could be shared with them, they'd be willing to not sell them. Um, I do know a lot of nurserymen and some landscape contractors are not really trained in horticulture or this topic we're talking about, but they're more like businessmen, and so their
Yeah.
goal is, like we talked, is to make money, but they just don't realize what they're doing to the environment. And I guess I'm looking to Steph, based on your active engagement with these folks. Is that a real impression that I'm having, or is that a false one? I guess what I'm asking is, are you finding that the people you talk to are willing to change their ways once they understand the problem?
Yeah, I found that with some people, um, when they learn about it, then they want to do better. But there are definitely some people that are like, I don't care.
Uh,
Um, but I think that it really definitely leans more with like, um, it's important to educate people about this stuff. And if they're not in the world of invasive species and conservation, they're not like thinking about it as much or inundated with it, with that information as much. And so, like you said, they might not know.
Hmm.
And yeah, with Go Beyond Beauty, like if we can encourage them to plant to replace invasive species with native species that they could sell, um, then there's less of a financial impact for their business. So if we can and then if we can also let them know like there's a cultural shift in the community where people are excited to buy these native species, um, and that would make the company look really good.
Yeah. Kim, go ahead.
Yeah, I think where you run into some problems is with, for lack of a better term, the garden industry. The show gardeners who want, the latest hybridized bloom or plant in their yard, and then they don't see the effects. Some of them stay where they're planted, and a number of them, quite frankly, don't, where they move out. But you have to somehow change the thinking of the folks that want the show garden with the specimen plants. Somehow you have to make them
Yeah.
aware of the species that, really are invasive and harmful to the environment. And it's a hard thing to bridge, to kind of turn that around, because there are a lot of quote unquote gardeners, who really turn their nose up at native plants, that claim that they're
Yeah.
just roadside weeds and, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, without understanding that without those native plants, you don't have the pollinators, you don't have everything that's needed to keep the environment moving forward.
Yeah. That's so true. That's another really, really big part of like the industry of people buying the invasive plants. There's a reason why people are buying Japanese barberry. It's been modified to have this like purple leaves that people think is like an absolute beautiful contrast with the green shrubs that they have in their yard. And um, so then people will be like, well, what other plants? Like, can you give me a native plant that looks like that all the time? And
Hmm.
that can be hard to do because some of our native plants can turn reddish in the fall, but they're not necessarily native like all year. Um, so yeah, some of the things you've talked about, I've had gardeners tell me that their butterfly bush or their honeysuckles that they have in their yard are not like spreading invasively in their yard. And so they're like, it can't be a problem because it's not spreading in my yard. I they're just like, I don't believe you that it's a problem. But it's like it's birds are eating the berries and flying off in the forest and depositing berries, and then those plants are just taking off like wildfire.
Exactly.
And so that's like part of like the ecosystem and habitat, the bigger picture that they're not really seeing. But like if you go for a walk at Anderson Woods, which is just north of Wildemar, it's a bunch of bike trails and hiking trails and everything like along the Grand River. But there are certain sections of the forest that is just the entire understory is Japanese barberry. And yeah. And then
Yeah.
also, um, with the horticultural ornamental industry, um, there's the people that are wanting to buy those ornamentals and not really like realizing the harm that they're causing. But there's a very strong horticultural and ornamental like lobby in Michigan for
Mhm.
businesses they're lobbying really hard to keep the ability to sell these plants because of how profitable it is. And
Yeah,
sometimes it's like which voice is louder?
yeah.
Who's
A
That's
lot of
always
appealing?
the problem.
Yeah.
the garden clubs that I don't belong to any, but when they have sales of plants and things like that, it's like, they're a lot of what they're selling are not native, and some are quite invasive. I found it encouraging that MSU at Beale Garden with Carolyn Miller, that they have now converted at least part of the garden into native species, and that I'm not sure exactly how far they're going with that, but I thought that was a good step forward.
Yeah. I'm glad that Carolyn's able to like kind of push that along and influence that. Just the other day, they planted 600 more plants in the pollinator garden of native species. So,
Oh, fantastic.
Stephanie,
I
have
also like know a lot of landscapers that sell it because customers want to buy it. There's the demand for it. So I think focusing on educating customers is certainly an important part too. I mean, Hammond Farms, we don't sell plants, we just sell the soils and stuff like that. But that's the bit I know. A question for Stephanie here. When you guys do plant cleanups and stuff, what happens to all your vegetable residue and like the plant matter that you pull? Do we landfill it? I've been on a couple cleanups that done either, wondering if best practices. Reason why I'm asking is as a composter, I'm always looking for more material, and we have large enough piles at Hammond Farms that I'm always looking for more, organic matter to throw into our windrows for composting.
yeah, so the problem with that is a lot of invasive species can grow just from a fragment of the plant. So I'll get you a copy of the invasive plant disposal guide, and that's part of like Michigan's regulations for being able to tell like depending on what invasive, how you're allowed to dispose of it. Um, it's a great point that like when we're removing invasives, the idea of wanting to compost it is great, but a lot of times, um, like the seeds, um, can easily just grow more plants, and just pieces of the plant, like especially with knotweed, just a tiny little fragment of the plant can get into the soil and like grow a whole new plant.
Yeah, the ones
And
that spread through rhizomes are really, really definitely difficult. The one that I've actually said that we won't take at Hammond is giant hogweed. So I'm worried about the phototoxicity of it and that sort of nature. So in general, the stuff that spreads by seeds, our windrows get hot enough that we kill all the weed seeds, nothing will sprout in it. But the ones that do spread through the rhizomes are definitely harder to control. And yeah, I'd love to see that guide. Thank you for sharing.
yeah. And another to keep your eye out for in our area is lesser celandine. It has, so it's a spring ephemeral that grows along the river, but it has bulblets that drop off, and those can persist in the soil for a very long time, and it's really hard to kill. Um, I don't know, I don't know if there's research about what can it survive in like a composting system, but there have been reports like in the US of people getting soil from companies that sell soil, and then their yard is like full of lesser celandine. So I think that that's something to look out for. for
Yeah,
sure.
well, one of our problems is we accept just the yard waste, and I mean, cleanups may be responsible in how they do stuff, but the average customer puts whatever the heck they want for the most part in those yard waste bags.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even keep them from keeping car batteries out and stuff like that, let alone specific plants. So we get it. We do our best to screen, but
Yeah.
the microbes and the temperatures we reach typically sterilize and kill just about everything. But there's always more plants and more stuff coming in, and so we're trying to stay on the forefront of it. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for all the work that you're doing.
Sean, do you have a list of plants that you don't compost? I mean, I know you said the giant hogweed, but are there others that you don't want in your compost stuff?
I mean, the only one that we've advertised is the giant hogweed. We don't get that question that often. Sometimes we get about poison ivy and stuff like that, which, yeah, might make an operator itchy the first time, but once it gets in the windrows, it pretty much is gone. So I am worried about, knotweed personally just a bit, but I haven't seen any of it coming back, and it's not, at least what we've seen, as widespread. So no, we don't have a specific list. But if you call us, we'll tell you no on the hogweed. But luckily, I've never had the opportunity to turn it down. Like, thankfully, I've never had to reject a load or anything like that. But I mean,
Yeah.
again, the dump trucks come in and they got 40 yards on them. We're not going through it by hand to find what
Yeah.
plants are good and what plants aren't. So we should focus more on education. Is what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I think that yeah, having when I'm giving presentations, like having a slide about what pay attention to what's in your yard and don't compost these things. Yeah, so the invasive plant disposal guide will say that there are some species that the only way to get rid of it is double bag it to put it in the landfill, and that Michigan doesn't let you just put like regular oak and maple leaves and grass clippings in the landfill, but there is laws and rules that allow invasive species, like invasive species that are really harmful and spread easily by seeds and parts of the plant, that composting is not recommended for. So it's unfortunate, but it's what's accessible for the most amount of people. Not everyone is gonna have a system set up to be able to like burn what they have. So
And
Yeah.
also on the composting thing, there's a huge difference between your backyard compost pile and the giant windrows that we have that turn that we monitor and stuff. It is a night and day difference, and most people don't have a turned windrow facility in their backyard.
yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask, with regard to garlic mustard, I know you're not supposed to compost it at home, and is that something that would work in your commercial windrows?
I currently would not turn down a load of it. No.
Okay, thank you.
You can always turn it into pesto.
I've heard that.
Yes, but on edible plants, in the words of the great Dr. Birnbaum, just because a plant is edible does not mean it tastes good.
Japanese knotweed is edible. Um, well, I have a meeting at 10 o'clock, my steering committee meeting for Mid-Michigan CISMA that I'm leading. So if it's okay to end it a few minutes early, that way I can log in for that and be on time. I was so happy to chat with everyone today. I don't know if everyone got out of this conversation what you were expecting. Um, Feel free to follow up with me with more questions.
Can we get your email?
Yeah, my email is stephanie.day at macd.org.
You could put that in the chat.
Oh, yeah, silly me.
Well, we sure appreciate you coming and being with us today. I'm going to stop recording. So thank you for being here.